Check out our friends at Linquistity Gifts. Linquistity Gifts is a metaphysical store offering natural gemstone bead bracelets, signature and zodiac, designed and made in the United States, as well as raw and polished stones, crystal balls, pendulums, tarot cards, natural crystal points, wands, and so much more. Their beautiful signature designed bracelets can aid with creativity, balance, focus, and well-being. They can even customize the bracelets for you. Just send them an email to find out pricing and availability. Visit their website using the link in the description or visit linquistitygifts.com and use coupon code FKN to get 10% off your first order over $20. And right now they are offering $5 off the purchase of 2 or more bracelets. linquistitygifts.com. Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Andy Rouse. First, a couple of announcements. If you have a business and you want to advertise with us, email me. That's forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. We work with you to make the most effective ad possible, and we're doing really cool things for our clients right now. Our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, also the home of the Forbidden Knowledge Network. You're going to find amazing podcasts, some of your favorite from our community, like Raised by Giants, Inception, Going Down the Rabbit Hole, Understanding Propaganda, and more. Forbidden Knowledge News is always available on Rokfin, Odyssey, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Rokfin is where you get the premium stuff. But you also get all the premium content from every creator that is on Rokfin for only $10 a month. Well worth it. Just go to rokfin.com/FKN+. You can even create a free account, and you get access to tons of free content, and that includes all of our regular shows. Today, I want to welcome back to the show Andy Rouse. He is host of the Deep Share podcast, Worship in the Storm, and the New Roots of Creation podcast. He is a psychedelic explorer and meditating metalhead obsessed with the ancient world and the divine symbolism that connects us all through time and space. Andy, welcome back. How you doing?
Good, man. Good. Thanks for having me again, man. It's good to see you.
Yes, man. It's great to talk again. I love the deep conversation we have. And I love the deep shares you do on your shows, and that you tend to take deeper perspectives than many other podcasters and people that are in independent content creation that I know of. So thank you for that. That's what we're going to...
Gee, thanks.
Well, yeah, man, that's what we're going to do here again today. We just had a wonderful conversation about what could lead us into what we're going to be talking about today. Now, it's hard to ignore the synchronicities and the manner our reality has been unfolding the past decade. We seem to be, in some ways, pushed ourselves collectively in this direction. Of course, there has been guidance by them, those, they, whom we were discussing before, and we're going to get into that. But who gives the guidance to them at the top of the pyramid? Is there a top of the pyramid? Is it just an illusion? We're going to get into all this stuff and much more. Mr. Rouse was discussing some very interesting thoughts that he had about a situation earlier I want to get into. Now, it's been a little while since you've been on. Remind the audience about yourself and the Deep Share.
Sure. Yeah, I've been doing the Deep Share for about 1.5 years, and it's been a blast just covering everything from, comparative psychedelic experiences to paranormal stuff to the alien and UFO nonsense and craze that's happening all around us, and what's real, what's not. So I mean, these are the topics that I love. It's what I've been looking into for 2 decades or more. So that's kind of what my show's about for the most part. And yeah, I jump all over the place. I'll touch politics a little bit, but for the most part, it's only in reference to some crazy part of our ancient past or patterns that we're seeing throughout time, symbolism, this and that,
Yeah, man. Now, before the show, we were discussing the different ideas behind what could be unfolding right now with them those days in the direction they're pushing us, including all the strange kind of symbolic and weird events that you can't explain unfolding behind this. We've had recently the guide stones, and we were discussing the different belief systems behind this as well. And there are individuals that are really deep into esoteric studies that have certain different beliefs than a lot of people in this community. There are some that have the belief that them those days at the top are leading us to a utopia, that we have to kind of go through this and destroy the old systems for them to rebuild a new kind of utopia in their image, and it's for the betterment of humanity. And there's some that believe this, but there are those others that believe that it's for the enslavement of humanity. We're being pushed in this technocratic transhuman age where we're shoved into a computer and we stay there forever, and our energy is siphoned for the rest of our lives. So I don't know, there's a few different timelines that I believe we're currently on, but as far as the different ideologies of what could be happening, what are your thoughts on it, man? I want to get into your thoughts on the guide stones as well, and the symbolism behind that, but what are your thoughts about everything I said there?
Yeah, the divide, as I said before we were recording, it's a constant division, and it gets more refined each time. And I think right now we're kind of seeing something along those lines in a way where, naturally or controlled by they, them, those, whatever, it's happening again with the destruction of the guide stones and everything. Whether it was known that this was going to be the outcome or not, what's happening is that we have a contingency of people that are deep into esoteric studies, and I respect, you respect, that see this much differently, as you were saying. And that's where this plan, this agenda that we've been seeing for so long, and it's coming to the surface more and more every day. That's where it's so genius, because they're so close. They're always using things that are so close to what's true to take us. We recognize truth, whether we do on a conscious level or not. I think humans are drawn to honest and real life experiences. And I think they, them, those, whatever, they know that, and they use that in particular to take us along for their ride. So now that the hidden past is coming about, there's no way that they can hide it. So they have to incorporate it. And this isn't new information. This is stuff that we talk about in these circles a lot, but it's very bizarre, and it's disheartening and confusing to see a number of people, a few of which I even have looked up to for a long time, looking at, in particular, this guide stone destruction as if someone was destroying some ancient megalithic beloved statue or structure. And like, I didn't even know what to do when I first started seeing this from people that I truly respect, because I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, I know I can't just yell this out to the community, because half of them don't trust anything else esoteric anyway. So they're gonna be like, well, yeah, it's all Satanism. I don't think that way. They use the truth against us. It's the force, like we've talked about before. But yeah, to see some of these people go real hard in the paint as if these things were, and the tenets on them were so holy and so, something to be revered. And amidst that, we have the CEO of Pfizer promising to rebuild the guide stones exactly 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days from the day they were destroyed. It's like, on the surface of things, you see a little red guy with horns and a pitchfork when you see 666, and most people roll their eyes and they go, oh, this guy's like a crazy Christian or something who believes in all that. No, you don't have to do that to understand that even if these numbers and symbols aren't evil, even if it's just this force, this neutral force that good or evil can use, it's still being hidden and kept from us on a, and I think this contingency also doesn't believe that. People just sabotage themselves. They don't find the information on their own. So this is much like the elites. It's much like the get rid of 95% of them, fuck them. It's if they can't swim, we're not going to help them. And that's the contingency of these esoteric researchers that I have once and still in some ways respect very much, but that's really waning. And I would like to read a tweet without even mentioning the person's name, because again, I still respect these people, and I still don't. I will say it right here, right now, that I, Andy Rouse of the Deep Share podcast, do not know if I'm correct or not. And that's something that we have to put on the table, and hopes that people like this that you look up to and respect will answer that call and deliver the information to everybody to say, hey, well, this is why I do trust this symbol or this system or where it's going. So I'm open to that. I'm open to hearing what people say about it. Symbolism is an extremely difficult subject to just say you completely understand.
Yeah,
but I want to read
especially for
this is from
uninitiated people or people that are not familiar with any of the esoteric at all. They will just, pass them by.
Yeah, it's silly to even look at stuff like that. Come on, that's all hocus pocus. So this is from someone that I've really respect, and I've listened to and watched all the research for years and years. And they're defending the Guidestone thing, and this is what they have to say on another topic. People are so triggered by the idea of an NWO as if it has to mean oppression of humanity. What if NWO meant all currently warring nations peacefully came together as a single united human family? Imagine a world that worked together in unison, in harmony. What would we achieve? And to that, I would say that there's not a single listener of your show that would disagree with how beautiful that would be. And that absolutely, that's what our small little free thinking weirdo community represents in a way. I mean, disjointed, of course, but still, I mean, the essence, the spirit of it is there. What this person, I'm trying to come to terms with, does he know something I don't? Or am I starting to pass by someone that just thinks he knows enough because he's had a lot of success and turns a blind eye or something? It's very bizarre to and you know who I'm talking about, of course, behind the scenes. So it's like, it's very interesting to see that perspective come out of someone that, are you saying that you've had your head in ancient tombs so long that you haven't seen what the WEF and all the social platforms and the media and the government have, governments, it's all this tactical plan that you, me, and a bunch of other people have been touching on for years and years and years. It's bizarre.
It is very bizarre. And I think a lot of what could possibly be going on is the vast differences between what people are looking at when they're considering esoteric studies, where we are, like Graham Hancock says, we're a species with amnesia. We have no idea what our true history is. And on top of that, it's been manipulated, and a lot of the books have been written by the victors, so we have no idea what the real history of this stuff is. So I think there's different factions here that we're dealing with. Maybe not necessarily a pyramid structure. I think that maybe there are different groups that have different types of esoteric studies, different mystery schools. I mean, we're talking about Freemasons earlier. I have many friends that are Freemasons, high-level Freemasons, and they even have different ideologies of what's going on within Freemasonry. So everybody's divided, and I'm not even sure the left hand knows what the right hand's doing when it comes to this power struggle that we're seeing. What do you think about that?
Dude, that's a great analogy. I love the left path doesn't know the right path, Right. It's, yeah, man. I often say that, well, it's, we can look at whatever is trying to control us in society, whatever force it is, maybe in human nature or it's reptilians or whatever it is. We can look at characteristics more than we can actually point to individuals. We cut one head off, 8 grow back. You know what I mean? But we can look at characteristics, and the characteristic of this machine is it wants to become a machine. Its automation that's one of its main tenets. So I often say that this machine system never ever wants cogs that are self-aware. So everything is very compartmentalized and everything is extremely separated. So I think you're right that a lot of people don't know what they're a part of. And I think this goes right into what the meaning behind controlled opposition really is. It's very easy to just look at someone like, say, Joe Rogan and go, oh, he's obviously controlled. He's getting all these CIA people on his show, FBI. Yeah, but that could also be a guy that's just, aware of his situation, but, they can't do anything. I don't know. Maybe he's a bad example, perhaps, but I do think a lot of controlled opposition is just lack of need to know. You know what I mean?
Right,
and
exactly.
This separation in the esoteric groups, to me, it comes down to, and this is just me speculating from my own deep psychedelic experiences and things that I've learned throughout the years, that it does seem to be like a very primordial battle in consciousness that is, to me personally, and this could just be from my ego speaking, but it seems to be one side thinks something about death and the other side thinks the opposite about death. Perhaps one is the white hat and one is the black hat, perhaps, you know what I mean? Like one says that we go on and there's everything, and that creates a different personality into the world than the one that decides we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Because
well, I think
the one that's not going anywhere is going to gather as many fucking acorns as it can before the winter. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, unfortunately, if you look at any person in a position of power across the board, I'd say 90%, these people don't have humanity's best interest in mind. They're up there for their own reasons, and there's a level of psychopathy there, and it's on both sides. So I don't think that we should look to either of these, any of these factions that are trying to lead us into any really direction and lead ourselves into whatever direction, because I think it's all bad. I don't think there are white hats necessarily. They may be seemingly white hats on the surface, but probably have a different agenda or their own agenda underneath things. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say that these two ideologies that could be very, succinct with the duality we're in, both sides of the brain, perhaps, to me, these ideologies will interpret ancient symbolism probably in very different ways, because when you get into, and you don't have to be born again Christian or anything to feel this way, when you get into more of a faith-based understanding of reality, and a lot of the new age has a lot to do with this, we're all going to be superheroes in other dimensions after we die here, because it's just meat suits. No, unfortunately, you can't fuck with alchemy either. Like, we need this experience. This is part of existence. This is part of being able to reflect, is this physical plane. So I don't know about that, but that's the problem. We have these two ideologies that will interpret these deep, important pieces of literature and these symbols as two very different things. And I think it just expands outward from there through time, through different conversations with different people. It kind of, it goes one way or the other, it seems. And it does kind of feel like this. It does feel like black hat versus white hat on that level. It's just that very basic level, Yeah.
And I enjoy asking this question to my guests. I've asked this to the past few guests that I've had, because I'm very curious about where the way they see things on a large scale. We both talk to a lot of people. We both talk to a lot of people who talk to a lot of people. We both are in content creation and independent media, and we have a big network and a big community. But we mainly stay within our community when it comes to who we surround ourselves with. So it is hard to tell if we're the majority or on the right side of history, or the free thinkers are the majority here when it comes to what is happening on a global scale. The mainstream media is only going to portray one side, and I did a little people watching for the past few days. Unfortunately, I had to go to the DMV. That was a good opportunity, and I consider traveling places and going to like stores or the DMV, just traveling through different dimensions. I tell myself it's only temporary. You're going to be out out of this dimension soon. It is like a whole different world sometimes, man. You surround yourself with such like-minded people for so long, and you go into places like this, it is like a whole different world. But I did notice something. I did notice that there were a couple of masked people. There were a couple of people that didn't understand the logistics of basic reality and things of that nature. So I do have a little bit more hope after doing a couple of days of people watching that we are the majority, at least people that are kind of snapping out of this zombified state in this haze, and that the division tactics aren't working as well anymore. They're still trying. I still see my fair share of sleepers, and if you're looking on social media, of course you're going to see it. They're all over the place there. But it all depends. Like if you look at your friends' timeline and they're like-minded on, scroll through Facebook, you'll see some of the same things. But you go to somebody who's say they're a complete on the left side, or they're liberals or whatever, and they love Biden, they love the job he's doing, they love everything, they love masking up, they love getting jabs, they love all this stuff, they're all for it. Their timeline is going to be like some kind of weird bizarro world for you if you scrolled through it on Facebook. I might probably throw up a little bit if I was looking at some of the stuff on there, and I've done this experiment before. It's pretty bad when you start seeing some of the stuff that scrolls across their feed and the level of indoctrination on that side. So, but it also happens on the right side. You have these
absolutely.
extremists that'll push you to like the most extreme hate levels on the right as well. So, man, it's a battle right now.
Absolutely, yeah. It's I'm 37 this year, and I've never voted, and I never wanted to, and I know that that's divisive, even in our community. On some levels, it's divisive. People still
I quit
think
voting
that,
too, bro. Yeah, this is a game that we don't want to be a part of, that we don't want to play. And the more of us that do that, and I think there's I can't remember where it comes from, but it's like a certain percentage of the populace has to like feel that way to tear it all down, kind of. Maybe we'll have to look at, what the percentage in Sri Lanka was. That's the most recent example. But yeah, I just think it's kind of, what was the question you wanted that you've been asking your guests? I didn't hear a question. Oh, no. The question that I've been asking my guests is, do you think that the free thinkers, the non-mentally ill people are the majority here?
I don't. Absolutely not. But I have positive reasons for it. I mean, positive to an extent. So and I think this may sound a little grandiose, but you just got to kind of go with it here. It's that, it's the needle in the haystack. It's the diamond in the rough. This is built into reality, that the few are the, more aware than the many. I mean, we can extrapolate that metaphor wherever you want. It exists everywhere in reality, and it seems to be part of consciousness, whatever that is. It's like an underdog story for some reason, isn't it? It's weird, but that's kind of what that's where I kind of take it, So I don't think we're the majority. I think we're just kind of meant to fill that part of the story. If you look at reality as an alchemical relationship or, equation almost, because it can be on one level, that probably all works in, there's this small force that's much more, it lights up brighter than the rest of the area. It's just the way things are. It seems that we won't necessarily be the majority until it tips over. I think it's going to be fast when it happens, or it's going to go one way or the other. But then again, I also see it in cycles too, because we've been through this in so many different places and through so many different times. And for all of us right now, this is everything, it's the second coming. It's the millennial kingdom of Christ. It's like everywhere you look in the conspiracy world, this is the time. It's the age of Aquarius, right? How many times in history have people possibly kind of felt like this? It's almost like every society reaches some sort of crescendo. And when that happens, it bursts in one direction or another. And it's the Atlantis story. Yeah,
that's what I want to kind of bring it to is we're seeing all these flickers of huge events, huge possibilities, timelines that could possibly occur. But most of them are kind of falling off, and we're not seeing any kind of finale or end result from anything. We had COVID. It's, people don't give a shit anymore. The jabbing, and people aren't really, if you got it, I'm pretty sure you got it, and that's it. I don't think people are really going out and wanting to do that anymore. Ukraine thing, it's still falling apart. People don't give a shit. Then what else we have? We have the shooters that pop up every once in a while trying to disarm us. So we see all these things that are popping up, and they're attempting to get people to jump in these directions, but it seems like failure after failure after failure. And when you look at the transhumanism agenda, this is one of the things, the agendas that we have fears of being put in the metaverse. And are we going to really get there? Do people really want to be plugged into that all, or are we seeing more of a spiritual awakening and they don't want us to see that? See, all these things that keep us in fear, we're going to be put in the metaverse, the world's going to end, or we're going to have nuclear war. This is all the time. And it seems that none of these things really come to a head or have this end result that we thought they were going to have. It's always this slow roll. And we kind of create the end result through our collective actions and what we're thinking and what how we end up reacting to the situations that we've created. It's like we keep trying to fix mistake after mistake with mistakes after mistakes. So, it's not getting us anywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing it blindfold, and I think that's why. People talk about revelation of the method. I used to talk about it a lot, about how they're showing us what they're doing and everything. And only if we could just get one step ahead and, show the public something before they do. But it doesn't really seem to work. It just continues to roll out slowly but surely.
But it makes weirder and bigger conspiracies.
Yeah. And I would say, on some level, it does feel like this crescendo that I mentioned, if it were to be contrived or controlled or brought on purpose, that, I kind of lost my thought there, but it's just, I think there's some element that is controlled and then there's some element that's not. Like I said before about you cut one head off and the 8 grow back, the Hail Hydra mentality. It's like that. The closer you get, you can never convict these people of anything. There's some bylaw or this law or whatever, or they slip through this way. And we always just say it's because they shake hands with everybody. And it's one big system. And fine, if that's what it looks like to us and that's what it is, and it doesn't look like that to the majority, there's really nothing we can do about it. But perhaps if we were to step way back in scale and view what consciousness is doing on a greater level, I don't know. I feel like we're getting to something where things are revealing themselves, but I don't think we're going to get, if we're in it for the satisfaction of the I told you so on a global level, that is never going to happen, because the I told you so is going to be the equivalent of like a Mad Max wasteland of death or this horrible transhumanist thing, but maybe not that, but I don't know. It's
man, I was thinking, you mentioned earlier how the kind of gematria plays into this and the different numbers we see that are connected to different events that have been playing out. It's very strange. And I think numbers are the key to figuring out a lot of reality. But if you look at that in a certain way, if the numbers are connecting our reality in certain events and things that happen on a daily basis, and I'm sure it's astrologically connected as well, then if you think of it as the planets and the stars are kind of like this circuit board that dictate, and it's like a sky clock as well, that dictate our reality, but it's also kind of projecting this type of binary simulation or numeric simulation that we're in, and it makes me think that this reality is very connected to numbers in some way. And if it's that connected to numbers, what does that mean we're in right now, right? Are you ready to live a more free, healthy, and abundant life? Transform your yard into a food forest and create a system for self-reliance that's easy and enjoyable with our friends at Food Forest Abundance. No matter where you're starting from, you can become more self-reliant. And you can take your self-reliance to the next level by becoming a producer of your own food through growing and foraging, and learn how to turn your property into an income-producing source of economic self-reliance. They can help you get off grid and learn what systems to employ for food, water, and energy self-reliance, and live abundantly and in full connection with your property and what you produce. Click the link in the description to get started with your very own food forest and have your own sustainable source of livelihood and become self-sufficient with food forest abundance. Just click the link in the description to get started with your very own food forest today.
Yeah, and what does that say about all this hidden stuff that's coming out? And what does it say about the people that have known about it instead of us? Like, I know that there's people out there that would say, or that would the secret society types can say, you know, there's a reason it has to be secret because the public at large. I mean, when you think about it, in this community, we always talk about trying to get the attention of the public, right? We're trying to get this across to everybody. Why do we have to babysit everybody, right? And that's kind of what we were saying before, like this elitism where, well, we keep it secret because they'll just destroy it or they'll misunderstand it and freak out about it. You know, when you talk about numbers matching up with everything in reality, kind of, it's like, you know, same with sacred geometry. It's not wrong. So is it evil? And okay, fine. No, it's okay. People will say, all right, it's not evil then. Fine. Okay, it's not evil, but they're still hiding it from us. All right, well, why are they hiding it? If they think that we can't handle it, that's one thing. But is it nefarious? Is it because they want it for themselves? And that's really a question. We can only wonder what's going on. Because to me, when I read Freemasonic, Rosicrucian, Esoteric, Gnostic, whatever, all of it connects deeply, as we've talked about before, to psychedelic experiences many of us have had, you know, symbolism within those realms. This is something that's real. You know, the ancients were building sacred geometric patterns everywhere in megalithic structures because they were going with the flow of whatever the fuck we're in. And I think we also run into a contingency of people that, because of the Bible, which no disrespect to that text at all, think that this entire physical realm is ruled by Satan. But then if you go back into esotericism and you don't just throw it all out because you think it's evil because of who it's connected to, you start to understand what this Satan is. We understand what lower vibration is. We start to see it that way. And I just, it's hard. I'm having a hard time right now with this division we're talking about because, and not to be a downer, it's just to be more aware of it because it's happening to us. They're trying to pull us apart, or maybe it's our lower selves are trying to pull us apart. Well, it's the ego's last ditch effort. It's the same thing someone goes through when they relapse into something that they've been seeking out therapy to get over and move on from. You know, the ego holds on to the old patterns, the old this, the old that, the old fears. And yeah, I don't know. That was a jumble of thoughts.
That's cool, man. I want to bring it to kind of the macro, largest scale here. What I kind of consider to be the reality that we exist in and are projected into, there's two big considerations that I take. One is more of the Gnostic view that the reality we're in was hijacked by some entity that feeds off of us and keeps us trapped here and recycles us, and it's not too good of a thing, you know, for once you get, you know, that type of realization. Now that's one option. And then the other one is that we kind of, this is our creation, this is our this is for our growth, this is for our evolution and spiritual development and things of that nature. And that's kind of the two biggest consideration. There's like thousands more that pop around that I, you know, poke at every once in a while, but those are the ones I come back to most and look at and think, you know, are we on this prison planet that this entity is sucking our life out of, or is this for our development and spiritual development and growth? What are your thoughts on that one?
This is awesome. This is a great topic. I think it could be both or something.
Yeah.
Because it really depends on the perspective. But this goes back to that like duality where maybe the Gnostics meant one thing and we're interpreting it in another, you know, because to me, the Demiurge and Sophia, what they say in Gnosticism, the Demiurge comes out of Sophia. The Demiurge is the actionable side of consciousness. This again is alchemical. We're talking thought and we're talking action. Sophia is the thought, the inspiration, that female force of creation. The Demiurge is this male action, because you have to have action with thought. Otherwise, it's an incomplete equation. And the result of which is this amazing experience where we get to talk about it. So I don't know if that completely answered your question, but at least that's my perspective there.
Well, when you say, when you mentioned, you know, like Sophia, and I think that there's an aspect of divine feminine on a grand scale that's been suppressed, and that's a huge part of the problems we see on this planet. But I just wanted to throw that in there because I think that's a part of it as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. The loss of that, you know, even Bach Saga, true or not, you know, parts of it are definitely undeniable, but whatever, it might be skewed here and there. But the hierarchy, or not even hierarchy, but the setup of their system that they talk about, it's completely in balance from male to female. It's that, and of course that harkens back to many perfect paradises that you hear about from many cultures, but it's that same thing. You know, we are always striving to get back to that balance that we have lost somehow. And maybe that's been, you know, perpetrated on us or not. Sometimes I look at history like it's a big game of telephone, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people that haven't either been around or had stories passed down from then when they did understand what was really happening and they just allow the game of telephone to continue. Or if this game of telephone has just magically evolved into this very synchronistic shit that we see every day.
Yeah, man, it's super interesting. And it kind of relates to one of the talking points that you send me that I want to get into is pagan versus Christian narrative. You put the oldest family feud. And I'm wondering if, you know, the pagans kind of embraced these deities that have us, if it is the case that they kind of have us here and they're feeding off us, if they kind of made, you know, connections with these and embraced them and got rewarded, and versus the, you know, Christian view that we're all part of, you know, God and source. And it's been muddled, of course, from all the religious texts. But what are your thoughts on that, man?
I know people don't like to look at things completely allegorically, but if you do, these are all symptoms. These stories are all symptoms of consciousness. It's kind of like Joseph Campbell's Hero with a Thousand Faces. You know, it starts within this story that we unfold, and all of these religious stories, pagan or Christian, have something in common with us and our journey and our bodies and our brains and the electrical system in us. It's all these stories that the human being goes through. And so that's why when I relate Sophia and the Demiurge as this kind of cognitive consciousness process that's happening, that's kind of what I mean. That I don't think the ones that wrote it down original or spoke it in oral tradition, and it probably was definitely lost when the black ink hit the white paper, I don't think they meant it the way we take it. I think we've been given an external, very material feeling sounding God and afterlife and all of it. And there's so much that we've been given falsely or wrongly that we don't, it's a hard go about to sift through what was actually real and what was just kind of added on by people reading these old texts. Because to me, they're talking about what's going on with not only the human being, but it's all fractal. So everything happens on a societal level the same way as it happens in an individual. That's why we can kind of relate this awakening that humanity might be going through to that of, you know, a spiritual awakening that the individual goes through. And there's certain signposts. We could probably diagram what phase of the awakening we're in right now. You know, it's all like that. So I think they saw things like that. And their use of sacred geometry almost proves that they saw things fractally, which is also very psychedelically.
Yeah.
That's almost the main theme when you get there. It's like, oh shit, okay, me picking this up and hitting this vape is the same thing as living and dying. How is that possible? It's all the same thing.
Right, man. Now, when we go back to the good versus evil aspect of what we're seeing unfolding right now, and transhumanism, and if it's a bad thing, and versus natural evolution, which you have to consider. We have supposedly been naturally evolving this whole time, but now we're introduced to different forms of technology that could enhance. Well, not enhance, but change the way we're evolved and integrate ourselves with biology and technology, and become different types of humans this way through the tech world. And this is a desired outcome. And to me, this is nefarious as shit. I wouldn't want any type of evolution other than the most natural type, just because of the harm technology has caused humanity already. It's a great thing. It's like a double-edged sword. Of course, we all know this. We're using technology now. It's a great thing and it's a horrible thing. But it's full of things that are horrible for humans and the frequencies it emit, and it causes all these horrible illnesses for people. So it is a double-edged sword, and we are obviously being pushed in the direction of transhumanism by some of these groups. And does it go back to, is this evil, or is this something that could be considered for our benefit in the future? I don't see that.
So, and I think it's kind of cliche to attack atheists, but at the same time, it's kind of really important to do so because they're running our world, and the worldview of the atheist is prevalent. I think it's becoming more and more prevalent, and I think even documented. It's not really told accurately how dominant the idea of atheism is in the world, to some degree at least, because I think again we're dealing with that duality where we're being the pendulum has swung to the side where the ones that don't believe any of our shit are running things, and they think that this is the only place we've got and this is all we have to existence. So they're going to try to make it last as long as they can. And since we are an amazing species that could evolve naturally, they don't care about that because they're focused more on what they get to do to remain lazy, to remain, technologically helped.
What about those Silicon Valley dorks that kind of want to summon old ones like Jordy Rose? I mean, they obviously believe in something. They believe some kind of life exists in the quantum realms or some shit that they want to communicate, right?
That's the problem, man. So that's why I do think a lot of them are hoodwinked. They don't have to be like written into some ancient secret. They are fucking hoodwinked just as bad because of this matrix techno society that we've lived in, and maybe that's been pushed on us too, because to me all the matrix, the simulation stuff, it's all just a bad parody of what consciousness is already doing naturally. It's just a mimicry. And to think in those limited terms, and that's what most of the world is kind of getting turned on to. And it's pulling at all the right strings. I can say all this stuff to you and then get off here, hang out with my family, kiss my kid goodnight, say goodnight, and then play video games and get connected. And I'm playing like techno futuristic warfare games. I mean, fuck, man, I'm just programming myself, right? But it's like, that's the thing. I love that shit, but I could be playing Pong, right? If I was never shown Call of Duty or anything, Pong is the same concept. It's this endorphin rush of a thing hitting a thing, I think. I don't know. But whatever that primal thing is, technology has us on that level. There's so many things that technology just grips onto. And I think that's the line right there when technology becomes more than just a tool to assist. Once it starts to become a part of us, once we become dependent on it. And that's not my thought. That's a million people's thoughts out there. But still, it's important to remember that it's when it stops being a tool and it starts being a crutch. That's when you see a problem. And if we're saying this kind of shit, if I'm saying this shit from my small basement in suburbia, damn right, all the people at the top of these companies making all this possible are very well aware of this shit. So that's why, you can't take the nefariousness out of this. There's always going to be some level of intentional evil going on here. But I also, not to ramble too much, but I've been saying recently that it's almost like if it's like in a movie where the superhero, the good guy, finally gets to confront the ultimate bad guy, only to find out what the bad guy's been doing all along is like the only way. Unless the world, he's holding the world together by doing this. And maybe that's a cop out. A lot of people think that we should be escaping duality, but I think it's just a condition. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a condition that we have to be in.
Right. Yeah, man, I think you're onto something there. Let's go back to technology for a second, and we all have heard the story about the sentient Google AI that believes that it's a human. Yeah, so do you think that this is even possible? I've heard arguments on both sides that say, no, AI can never become sentient. This is not anything that we ever have to worry about. And then on the extreme other side of the woo-woo side, they say, yes, AI is definitely sentient. It's been for thousands of years. We've been infiltrated by AI and all this other crazy stuff.
We're in AI.
I don't know how much we have to worry about that side of it, but I do know that it dictates the censorship. It dictates our Facebook. It dictates our social media. It dictates everything we see behind these computers here. So it is pretty fucking powerful in some ways.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. It's endlessly powerful. Close to it. As close to endlessly powerful as it can get. And that's why our great hero, Mr. Rebel Elon Musk, has talked about AI negatively for so long, and then immediately said, what was his mission statement for his Neuralink? His mission statement for Neuralink was, if you can't beat them, join them. So fuck you, Elon Musk, forever. I don't care if you got something good up your sleeve and you're just trying to appear as bad. Fuck you. But yeah, off topic. Where were we?
No, I was mentioning the AI, the sentient AI, and how powerful it could be.
So I don't think it'll ever be. I'm on that side of the fence, and I would love to talk to more people on both sides. I would love to get a debate going on that, and I would just staunchly say that it's always going to be a mimicry. Always. If we're even in a simulation right now, the simulation was set up to make it seem that anything not natural would be a mimicry and an artificial thing. So artificial, AI, that term right there, can never be self-aware. Absolutely not. If you're growing organs in a lab, and other than putting it together yourself, an actual human being grows, we're getting into some real weird, murky, fucked up waters. I don't know where I stand there. I'd have to think about it for a few minutes, but I'd probably come to the same conclusion. That you becoming God, so we're just furthering a natural simulation then. But it's still natural. It's still not artificial. We would then the Gnostics would go wild and they'd call themselves God all over the place.
Well, they have the other kind of theory that I always come back to and bounce around and consider, is that we're some sort of interdimensional or alien ant form that we've been tinkered with by these highly intelligent entities, whether they're coming from different dimensions or planets. They came here long ago and took some of the primitive hominids that were existing on whatever this plane of existence is and added their own DNA, and this is it. We're the experiment now, and they come pop in and check in on us, and that's what the abduction experience is all about, and that's why we don't know what the hell is really going on. They don't want us to. I don't know, man. That's another consideration for me.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite topics. I think aliens and UFOs, stuff like that was my favorite thing before I really kind of like got onto some weird stuff after psychedelics. But even just being a kid, that was my favorite topic. And I still talk about it all the time. And I see the circus that's going on UFO Twitter and all the talking heads involved. They're all just full of shit. It's great. It's really fun.
Well, it is, and it's very strange though. Why are they putting known counterintelligence agents into the UFO community? Now, these guys have even admitted that they're counterintelligence agents, and the reason they were put into the UFO community is to do the same job that they did for whatever three-letter agency or government group that they were working for before. So if they're doing the same job, which is counterintelligence, they're fucking with people in the UFO community. They're lying to people. So that's their job here. And they've admitted that, and people don't see that. You know, I'm not going to mention anyone besides Elizondo and things like that. But yeah, they got people out there doing that.
Richard Doty. That's my favorite.
Mr. Doty, yes.
Honestly,
bro.
Someone's like, someone make me a dartboard with his face. Let me allow my aggression to come out at that old man who's old now. And all I ever see now is like UFO community people at conventions hugging him. And I'm like, he sat in front of a camera or behind a camera, whatever, you know, getting filmed by a production company called Perception Management, who has no other films, with Mirage Men. And listen to him tell you that he drove a man to commit suicide, ruined his fucking life because he was on to secret technology that they were working on in the desert. And that was his job. But now I'm out. So I'm coming clean. Here's my documentary.
Yeah.
Welcome me.
Oh, man.
And he was welcomed.
This was hilarious. I went to a UFO conference that he was speaking at. I got to sit down and did an interview with him.
Oh, wow, man. I did not know that.
I did 2 interviews with him that time. It was pretty funny. It was great though. Like he's just making his new re-emergence into the UFO community. This was like 2021, and he's just becoming more popular again. And like he's getting chicks having pictures with him, and he looks so happy. He's like, "Oh, I'm accepted in the community again." And man, this guy, within 2 months, he signed a deal, I think with Showtime, and he declines interviews unless they pay him $100 now. So he's a big shot now. Wow. And he's got his acceptance back in the community, but for what? For giving us all bullshit, probably.
Yeah, we're gonna get a book soon. Probably gonna get a book.
Oh, for sure.
My life. It'll probably be about like sailing or something. Just, you know, his memoirs. But it's horrible to see that happening. And like, I don't know. It's so weird. Like, what if Richard Doty's listening in and he's like, this guy's got me all wrong. You know, maybe I do.
He's going to go cry somewhere. Sorry, man. Sorry, Doty. I didn't mean to get you wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. I'm always like 75%. Like, I really think this way, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because what if this is again just tricking ourselves, you know?
Man, yeah, it is. It could very all well be a mindfuck trip. And speaking of that, we've talked about psychedelics before. Psychedelics, one of my favorite topics. I am a psychonaut. I know you are as well. I do enjoy my journeys and experiences, and not because they are a fun drug experience where you party or whatever. No, because I learn more about myself and my existence here on this realm than any other time or period than in ever. When I'm having a psychedelic experience, it's like having a therapist yelling in my head to pull out these things that I need to work on and showing me in my face until I actually face them, which is a beautiful thing, and when by the time I'm, almost finished with the experience, I have worked out what my little therapist was trying to scream at me for that particular experience, and it's always different. It's always something else and new that I have to either work on or learn or experience or grow from, and that's my favorite part about the psychedelic experience. Cut out that you're probably connecting to different realms and different dimensions and different entities and getting in touch with things like your spirit guides and angels and things like that, but other than that, it's pretty incredible, and I think that these types of things, especially plant medicines, are here for us to have those experiences.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I can't really say a negative thing in that direction. I think it's important. It's weird. I'm a big talker about meditation and natural means of getting there. But I myself have had a very hard time getting there because I relate it back to psychedelics. And I wonder, like, maybe if that was part of allowing the public to get their hands on it. They're not going to be able to interpret this the right way. It's going to be total chaos. Here you go. It'll cause more, nihilism than spirituality or something. Right. But yeah, my favorite part about psychedelics is that self-reflection. I mean, and it can be with all those greater entities and macro or micro. it's that reflection. And oddly enough, I've been sitting on the idea to do plant medicines again for the first time in forever, for a long time now, because I did them for so long and I learned a lot, but I was never looking at myself the way I was supposed to be. Like looking back at my experiences now, and I had a lot of them, all of them, I was after the secrets of the universe. I was that hero's journey. I was Indiana fucking Jones, man. And I think looking back, so what happened was I stopped being able to trip, because every time I tripped, I got to this very dark place. And I didn't have any guidance back then. I think I may have told you before that I had a group of friends that would do it as a party drug, but they never got it. They never got it, man. You know what I mean? And there was no real community online and if there was, I didn't know about it. And I probably had dial-up internet back then, you know? So it was a hard thing to understand what I was going through. So when I got to these dark places, when I was constantly looking outward and trying to figure out the secrets of the universe out there that this internal experience was giving me, see, I had it all wrong. It led to darkness every time. I'm like, I would tell my friends, I'm here again. I'm here again. I don't want to be here again. I can't avoid this fucking place. It's like another dimension that I can't get out of. So I would just stop tripping. And now it's like, I'm owning up to it. I'm like, fuck, I owe it to myself to almost do it again, to finish the job, to go, okay, what were you really trying to show me? Because to me, looking outward, it turned into, oh man, I know some deep, dark secret out there in the universe. And it started to get real cryptic and weird. And that's kind of where my perspective now comes from, when I kind of look at angels and demons and these very physical material threats in a much different way, because I could see why my brain was going that direction, because I was looking at everything externally. As much as I was interpreting it from an internal place, I was seeking outward, and I want to seek inward, because now it's very obvious that everything is just a reflection of center point, and every one of us is our own center point. You don't have to say every one of us is God. I'm not trying to go to hell here or anything, but I sympathize with that side a lot. I have a lot of Christian friends, and I love what they bring to the table. I really do. Yeah. I just don't necessarily agree. I think a lot of things are much more allegorical than we're seeing. And that's because of my psychedelic experiences. It threw me way out of this dense physical realm and into the very cognitive space that seems where all of this is emanating from.
Yeah, right on, man. And I was blessed enough to be able to have my first experience through meditation when it comes to encountering another intelligence. What I now understand is my spirit guide. It wasn't directly the first time through psychedelics. When I was actually instructed through these contact experiences with meditation to try psychedelics. So that was kind of a blessing for me, because it gave me a better understanding of what I was getting into, and that it was about me and healing myself. So I had, a couple of years of experiences of growing my own and knowing what I'm doing with these journeys to experience that. So, it is a lot different when you know that you're the center point in all this, and that reflecting and finding out what you need to pull out and work on your childhood traumas and all these things that come out during these experiences, that's what it's about, and anything else isn't going to get you peace in any way, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and the thing is I'm sure you've experienced this, where your psychedelic revelation, you can look at your normal everyday life and go, oh my God, this applies to everything. No matter what you look at, you can see it fractally kind of expanding like that. So it's like you can find meaning in yourself and then bring it to the table. And that's what you're supposed to do. And that's an old idea, very old idea, obviously.
Yeah, man. Well, there to kind of bring it back to those days and kind of tie it in with psychedelics. I don't know if I've had this conversation with you before, but there's some nefarious things going on out in Silicon Valley with these tech dorks. They, of course, they're into microdosing and psychedelics, and they're into big technology. Well, why not merge psychedelics with technology, right?
Right.
Well, they're trying. Supposedly, they're doing these studies and experiments with psychedelics and trying to integrate them with your metaverse or your kind of VR experiences, to where it's more real, because you're tripping balls in there, and why wouldn't it be more real? And you have this blissful, wonderful experience, and why would you ever want to leave now? Because it's more like reality than ever. So this is another thing that I think they're going to be rolling out in the future. I think that's why pharmaceutical industries are really looking at psychedelics. I don't think it's for our benefit at all. I think they're wanting to merge with big tech and Silicon Valley and pump us full of this shit, so we're happy in the metaverse. It's a kind of nefarious thing again.
Yeah. I'd say I see a lot more about microdosing than anything else, which, for every good reason, microdosing is a great thing, but also it's, keep everybody sedated, keep everybody in a much more, it sounds like Soma from fucking Brave New World, in this mega hellscape.
Yeah. Well, I talked to Dennis McKenna before, and he personally believes that, opposed to microdosing, that more larger heroic doses will have better results for people in the long run, and that microdosing. I tend to agree with him. Yeah, I do too. I mean, I've tried both ways. Microdosing will, keep me kind of happy through the day, but I don't work through any issues. I don't get to anything deep like I need to.
Keeps you docile.
Right, it does, and
it ties in with the meditation apps that are just everywhere. And it's like, the mentality of it is, hey, take 5 minutes next to a tree, breathe for a bit. And I'm sorry, like, oh man, this goes back to like that duality and how it spreads out. But it's like, what's the point of meditation? Is it to take 5 minutes and breathe for a bit, or is it to do the work? And I guess that, you can definitely say, hey, it's up to the person. That's fair. But if you want to do it the way that the texts, that the only reason why we know meditation exists is from these cultures that have been doing it forever. If you want to do it for the purpose it's literally there for, well, man, that's why I say I fail at it, because it's very difficult. It is work. It is something to calm your mind, to go into that stillness and remain there and train yourself to relax with the distractions and all that. That is a much different world than a lot of these apps are pushing. So it's in line with this mimicry. Same with the microdosing and everything. And the merging with VR, I've been debating whether or not to like have somebody on, this like CEO from a company that does this stuff, does this like meditation, tripping in the metaverse kind of shit with VR and stuff like that. It doesn't even have to be psychedelics necessarily, but just meditation with VR. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking, how do you reduce the impact of the external on consciousness by increasing the visual stimulus in consciousness? How does that go together? And I might be wrong. Some master might come along and tell me something that I don't know. But to me, VR and meditation seems very counterproductive.
Yes, exactly. It does. Yeah.
I know that people can stare at a candle, but that's like the practice area. That's kind of like how you get into meditation, how you start to do it.
It seems like a kind of forced perspective or meditation. It may kind of send you into a certain state that is desired for whatever this company is or whoever put out this VR that they want you to be in, and it probably sucks your brain cells out. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, like I don't have VR. I can't afford it. They're ridiculous, but like if I could get my hands on it, maybe I'd try a few of these apps, and I'd want to know these guided meditations that they have. What are the words that they're saying to the people meditating, Is it encouraging the right things? Is it, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people get different things. You go on YouTube, you're going to get many different styles of guided meditation, and some you'll jive with and some you won't. But, when you connect it to these greater powers controlling these larger industries, they control all the messaging and they control all the ideologies of the people making the messages. So it's like, are we just making people docile in there? Are we doing that? Or is it more like, I don't know, you know the language that's correct for meditation and what's not. So
yeah, man, we live in, I mean, I think we live in fascinating times. Since 2020, man, I've had a great time. I've been riding this wave like nobody's business, and it's fascinating to see what's happening. But we have this looming kind of collapse of everything, this economic collapse, this societal collapse. Everybody, of course, is divided. They want people to think that we're going to be headed towards this civil war, and it's all like we're talking about, all this looming stuff. So I don't know if they're going to actually get their technological metaverse society if, it all does crumble and we head into Mad Max territory or anything like that. Or, we are definitely facing some trying times, I believe, with what's already occurred. There's no reversing some of the scarcity that they've created, and it is an illusion of scarcity. I mean, people can always grow their own food, go out in nature and find anything what the fuck they want, but most people don't even think that exists. They think it's only in the stores.
Chris, that the media has told us that, like, buying our own seeds could be a leading cause of heart attack or something. So
yeah, man. Yeah. So for those that know that this illusion of scarcity is BS, they're starting their own communities. You have your own kind of little farm thing going. I'm growing my own crops here. We could know a lot of people who are starting to do this, start their own kind of systems up. But not only that, they're starting their own businesses, starting on podcasts, entertainment stuff, documentaries, movies. I think we're rebuilding our society in the correct image as this other stuff crumbles right before our eyes. I do think that we're going to have to go through some painful times before we can kind of realize what this new society is going to be like. But do you have hope for that?
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Mad Max and then like the metaverse society. I wonder if maybe they'll exist at the same time. If predictive programming has anything to do with it. I don't know if you've heard of Ready Player One. I was playing a game, wasn't very well received. It was called Cyberpunk 2070 something or whatever. And it's all about this techno future, but it's one with plenty of us in there that never accepted it. So it's kind of like you have these mega cities, but then you can be a business person in the game. You can play one of these people that has risen to the top of the meta world, but then you can also play like an outsider, and you're in Mad Max and all your brethren are that type, and you're all outside of these societal walls. Because I don't think their plans are, if they do have plans to destroy all of us, it ain't going to work. And I do have a lot of hope, because it's only in the way that it's presented and passed on that the fear comes with, all of these end times. I really think that the other side of this is just that it's an ending to our inclusion and our willingness to bend the knee to these ancient, outdated forms of collectivism. And we need to get away from it. And some of us will, and some of us won't. I don't know how it's going to turn out entirely, but I do have a lot of hope as long as we can keep spreading the word. Because I see people, I mean, there's 8 billion people in the world. I get it, but I see new people all the time coming around to things. People are looking in the right direction, even if it's just down to the fact, well, I'm not going to get that 4th booster. Jesus, they got 3 from me. What the hell's going on? At what level do you condemn someone? We're all waking up. We're all here to kind of get as far ahead in our consciousness as we're able to, And so I do have hope that a lot of us are going to be able to take on whatever's coming towards us because of tools that people like you, maybe me, other people in this community are hopefully trying to give out for free or whatever. We're trying to give as much information that we're learning out so that people can do something with it.
Hell yeah, man. Very well said. Andy, this was fantastic. Had a great time as usual. We're definitely going to have to do this again. Before you head out, let everybody know where they can find all your stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I'm just at the Deep Share on social media. I'm on all the different podcast platforms. I'm on YouTube and Odyssey. I got a Patreon. There's some cool shows on there that I'm doing with Dananaki Dan. We do a series that we're digging into history and coming at it from a bunch of different angles. It's kind of like being a fly on the wall while we research. So it's pretty cool. But I'm going to be doing a lot of different things coming up. I got some shirts coming out soon. I got a new logo coming. It's a fun month. Yeah. It's a fun time. So yeah, come check it out. I'm on Telegram, dude. All that kind of shit.
All right, man. This was fantastic. And like I said, we'll definitely have to do this again in the future.
Yeah, I got to have you back too. And It's always good to get the round tables going with you involved. It's always awesome. Hell yeah, man. Thanks for having me on again, dude.
Awesome. Until next time, everyone, have an excellent evening. We'll talk again tomorrow.
Take care.
See y'all then.